Hi, I'm Glenn DiBiase. What would you do if your principal left? Would you spend many months conducting an external search? Or do you have a talented backup who can step in and do the job to your high standards? Well, this video is about succession planning in schools, and I think succession planning has much to recommend it. So if you're considering it, think about the fact that good succession planning can provide a seamless transition when a position comes open because you have somebody who is ready, who knows the people and knows the school. It also is a less risky decision because you're dealing with someone you know. And it provides career opportunities for people who have a lot of talent and might have to leave because they can't get promoted in their own school or school district. But if you're thinking about doing a succession planning program and you want to do it well, there are some success factors that you need to consider. For example, you need to start with a compelling need to do it in the first place. You may have key leaders who are close to retirement age. You may have had a poor history of bringing in external principals. You may have few career opportunities for top talent and you want to expand that. But the point is that if succession planning is simply a nice to do, it's not going to be sustainable. I think the second thing you've got to consider if you're going to do this right is you need cultural support for succession planning. I know in some districts, for example, it's culturally unacceptable to promote somebody from one school to another. It's viewed as stealing talent. You'd have to get over that barrier. It can also be viewed as a threat. But succession planning needs to be seen for what it is. It's a way to establish management continuity. It's a way to provide career opportunities for talented people. And it needs to result in stars in all of your key management positions, particularly the principal position. Another success factor is to have good leadership and accountability for the program. In larger districts, succession planning is typically led by the superintendent and the head of HR with involvement from the board. In small charter schools, it may be the board itself that is actually leading the effort. And I think one of the more difficult success factors for succession planning is how you identify potential. Because as most of us know, being a great teacher does not necessarily mean we can be a great principal. There's a lot of factors you need to consider in order to identify if a great teacher has potential to be a great principal. So for example, you're going to have to look at the performance track record of the person. You'll have to look at their ability to learn. And learning ability is not just a cognitive ability, it's also a personality factor. People who are good at learning are curious. They're open to new ideas. And I think another one is assessing the leadership competencies of the person and looking at the experiences they've had both in leadership and in education. Putting all of that information together in combination will give you a pretty good handle on whether the person has potential to be a good principal. Another success factor is preparing people for the principal position, because having the potential and being ready to function as a principal are two different things. You need a good assessment of the person so that you can identify the gaps, and then you need to provide that person with the experiences that they need to close them. So for example, if you have a person who's been identified as having high potential, but they're not good at budgeting yet, you can put them in charge of the budget. Now, I wouldn't just throw them in there. I'd put them under the mentorship of the principal or the director of finance. I might put them in a budgeting class. But the point is they actually have to do the work before they're really going to get good at it. Now, I've seen some organizations that even go a step further, and then rather than just having them do a project in addition to their regular job, they will actually put them in a job that prepares them. I've seen schools, for example, that create assistant principal positions that are designed specifically around the needs of the person they're trying to develop to get them ready. Now, as I'm talking about this, you're probably thinking about all of the barriers to doing this well. And the barriers that typically come up in people's minds is not enough money, a culture that doesn't support it, and no one willing to step up and lead it. It's been a mystery to me why boards and why district leadership will insist on having good information and good management of their financial resources and have lower standards on the management of their human resources. The information that leaders have about their talent should be at least as good as the information they have about their money. And yet we have systems such as performance appraisal that in many instances are inadequate. They don't give us the information we need to manage performance. We have many school systems that don't have succession planning programs and the information that comes along with that. But imagine if you had good information of your key people on their performance, on their potential, on their career aspirations, on their retention risks, on their competencies, and you use that information to make decisions and take actions about rewards, about development, about filling vacant positions, and so forth. Because when it comes down to it, good school performance is dependent upon good individual performance and collective performance of your people. I work with schools on succession planning programs as one example of these kinds of systems. If you're interested in pursuing this further, give me a call.